Welcome again to Uphold. Ben, it's been a while. I've
It has
just
been a
looked at
while.
your new website. Looks a lot more professional. Now we're really targeting the ad business, no more
Yeah.
alchemists. Why don't we start with you just giving us an overview for those for whom this is the first call ever. What's wrong with the ad industry and how you're trying to solve it?
So thanks for having me. The ad industry suffers from a lot of the same issues that centralization in general suffers with. So very, very high fees to actually access and trade ads online. A very large lack of transparency, really. So it's very difficult to see where your money's been spent, how it was spent, how did your ads perform. And really the last issue is that the emissions produced are actually quite high. There was a recent study from the Ethereum Foundation that basically said that just YouTube uses 90,000 times more energy than the now proof of staking Ethereum chain. So it's an industry that has a number of issues, but is enormous. I mean, I think the digital ad market this year is predicted to be 774 billion, I want to say. So it is not an insignificant amount of money by any means, and up to
And
40.
most of that is Google, or
So I think Google do about 200 billion, and then Facebook probably 120 billion or so, but the rest is a lot of large independent ad tech firms.
Mm.
So really what Alkimi is doing is trying to solve those issues. So, I mean, using a blockchain, we solve the transparency issue in that all of our transactions are written to our ledger that we've built. They are validated by the nodes that operate in the network and kind of prove that what happened is what happened. And then that is publicly available to everyone to then reconcile transactions. And then we also reduce the fees. So as I said, you have a 47% fee, really. We bring that down to 3%. So we actually provide advertisers with a lot more money, a lot more media for their money, and publishers actually get a lot more cash for the ads that they're selling themselves.
where are the fees in the traditional model, and where are the fees with your model?
So the fees come from, there's a lot of middlemen that operate between the advertiser and the publisher. So you have what's called a demand side platform where people buy the ads. You have exchanges like Alkimi that actually match those ads. And then you have supply side platforms which kind of do the same thing for a publisher. Each of those businesses charges a fee. Typically 15% is what we normally see. So we are able to kind of encompass all of those businesses with an exchange and allow people to just, if they want to buy an ad, they come to Alkimi. If they want to sell an ad, they come to Alkimi. And in doing so, save themselves, earn more revenue or save themselves some money effectively.
So you're the one-stop shop. You said blockchain. It's actually not a blockchain. It's a DAG. It's a state channel, and you're now giving it a name. It's called the, how do you pronounce it? The AX, the IX, the
well, we call it the ads ledger, I suppose. Yeah, or Alex. Sorry, no, that's Alex.
Alex, it's an L. Okay, Alex.
Yeah.
Can you describe a bit what's different with that from a blockchain and what your technical approach is?
So the blockchain is creating blocks linearly, whereas with the way that we've built it with a directed acyclic graph, the data is kind of connected as and when it appears. So you have a much more efficient route to path your way around the different data points that are added to the ledger at any one time, which allows for significantly higher transaction speeds, which is essential in programmatic advertising. I mean, we are able to provide consensus within 1,000 milliseconds. So, I mean, call that a second. And at the moment, with the nodes that we have running, we're able to support 7,000 transactions per second. We anticipate that to reach 1 to 2 million transactions by the time we are kind of fully up to speed and have onboarded all of the node operators.
So if I want to place an ad in the traditional model, who do I go to? And in your model, who do I go to? Who do I talk to as an advertiser?
So advertisers generally will either come to us directly. So a brand like Nike, for example, would come to us and say, we want to place an ad. We would help them do that. But then there's also a lot of large media agencies. So there's 6 large holding companies that basically manage most of the ad spend. They will then work with a technology partner to buy, whether that is a display ad, a video ad, connected TV, audio, outdoor TV, you name it. Kind of media buyers are there to make that easier for brands to navigate. So media agencies will come to us. They will look to place a certain ad. We then facilitate that either through self-serve or managed service, and then they can serve on their respective publisher.
And of course, you're working with those two. From the user perspective, what changes? Do I see different things? Do I see more targeted ad? What does change for me as a consumer?
So you will actually end up seeing fewer ads. One of the reasons
That would
why,
be a blessing.
yeah, there is a lot of ads around. One of the issues that publishers are seeing is because they receive so little revenue because of the fees that are being taken, they're having to serve more ads to kind of make up for that lost revenue and fees. So by actually providing them with more cash, they're actually able to serve fewer ads, which has a number of effects. It makes your experience online better. It actually then uses less emissions because a lot of the JavaScripts that run to serve ads are actually quite emissions heavy. And then lastly, lost my train of thought, sorry. Yeah, I'll let that go. I can't remember what I was going to say. Sorry.
It happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
So we've more or less described what it does. And since we last talked, I think, which was a few months ago, things have happened. There have been some changes in your product development pipeline and some news that you want to share with us today.
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the kind of the biggest recent announcements is that we post our ledgers live, so you can now see the live transactions that we're supporting on labs.alkimi.org. I think we're up to nearly 1 million snapshots now, all of which contain live bid information from advertisers that have been bidding in the auctions that we host on the state channel. We initially supported display formats. And then now we're rolling out video ads as well. So if you imagine the kind of $700 billion budget, that's not all in one ad format. Some of that is in display, some of that is in video, connected TV and audio. So we're looking to support more formats to allow advertisers to use us to support their various media and ad formats that they use to target their consumers.
And I assume any sort of ad format that you can get from Google Ads, or so you will also be supporting, right?
Exactly that. Yeah, we use a standard called OpenRTB, which is the way that 99% of ads are traded. Within the OpenRTB protocol, it has different rules and standards for supporting different kinds of ads. We started with display. There's a lot of volume in display, but you tend to see better performance across video ads. We're also looking to support native ads. That should be live by June, and they are kind of branded content articles, ads that look like the content around it. We're looking to support connected TV, connected TV.
Yeah.
So that would be ads in like Paramount Plus or ITV, anything.
Oh, the streaming services.
Yeah, on smart TV, effectively, which is becoming more and more popular. There's been a lot of technological advancements that have allowed for that to be much more addressable than it has been in the past. So yeah, connected TV is seeing a bit of a boom, really.
And your ads are visible on all the social media platforms. So ultimately, if I now go on, I don't know, Instagram or any website, the ad could come from Google or it could come from you. I would see no difference as a user.
We wouldn't necessarily be on social platforms. It's more open web, but yeah, it would be exactly the same ad format that you'd see online currently, albeit that is using blockchain infrastructure to be delivered.
Awesome. What anything else you want to share with any news? Let's go through your bullet list of news.
Yeah. So one of the things we have been doing, we've been testing with quite a large partner on the demand side of the business since December last year. So that's IPG Media. They have a trade desk called Matterkind. We've been running ads with them. That's a lot of the snapshots that you will actually see on the ledger is from the brands that they work with across the inventory that we have live. So that is, for us, quite exciting. It's kind of proving that we have product market fit. We're starting to see results of the fees that we're saving for them. Our win rates are much higher than what they typically see. I mean, on average, 5 to 10% of bids win. We're seeing rates between 25.
Sorry, as somebody not too familiar with that, what is a win rate and who wins a bid? If I bid more, I win. Is that it?
Yeah. So if you imagine when you load a page, what actually happens when you load a page is an auction starts. So it then asks advertisers demand endpoints for a response to a bid based off of a cookie or the page it's loaded on or the region that it's in. Those bids are then submitted back into the browser, and then the browser then decides which is the highest bid and serves that particular ad. Typically, because of the fees that are taken, your bid will win 5 to 10% of the time. But again, because we are taking much lower fees, we're actually seeing a win rate of 25 to 40%. So that means as an advertiser, you're actually able to spend and serve your ads at the times that you want to and able to be more effective rather than having to query and bid significantly larger amounts of time, well, more often rather, to actually get your ad to serve, because it is quite competitive. I mean, any web page may have 5 to 10 partners that are bidding for the particular ad slots on page at any time. So it is quite a competitive marketplace. So yeah, having those higher fees really does help. Sorry, lower fees and higher bids helps us win more often and kind of allow advertisers to achieve their goals.
If you are listening to the webinar and you have a question that is pertaining to Alkimi ADS, then pop it in the chat. I cannot answer questions about the IRS or SEC or anything. I have no idea what's going on there.
Yeah.
And as a fact, we had to suspend staking because we were ordered to. It's a thing in the United States. That's nothing we can do about it. When I go into Google Ads, and that I'm somewhat familiar with, I have a dashboard. I see how my ads perform. I can create the ads there. Does the same thing exist for Alkimi?
Exactly right. Yeah. So the ledger, whilst it is good for kind of proof and reconciliation of ad transactions, because of the GDPR regulations, we're not able to surface everything that we see within the bid request, which is why you'll see some of those values are hashed. So
what are the GDPR limits here? I'm interested.
So it's generally anything around personally identifiable information. So that will be your location, your email address, which browser you've used, any information which could feasibly be used to tie it back to an individual. You actually have to give consent to whichever partner is buying that ad to do that, which is those annoying cookie notices that you see when you pretty much go on any page. That is
which absolutely everybody clicks allow all.
Exactly that. Yeah. So that in doing that, you're effectively allowing your cookie, which is just an alphanumeric key, to be matched with cookie databases that advertisers hold to try and find and show more relevant ads. So whilst it might feel like people are spying on you, really that is just, they don't know who you are. They just know that you have ABCD 1 2 3 4 5 matches ABCD 1 2 3 4 5, and then they'll show you an ad for Nike because they know you go to the gym. It's kind of that's really what that's.
And that's why once I search for a flight to Paris, I get bombarded with lots of advertisement about croissant.
They're pixels effectively. So one of the reasons Facebook did so well is because most pages on the internet have a social widget that is a Facebook pixel that is basically following you around everywhere, which is why when you think your phone is listening to you, it's probably just picking up on something that you surfed on the web. So that is why they've been able to grow to be such an amazing ad business in the 10, 20 years they've existed.
Do you think their ad business will go down, or will they adapt? Will they?
That's a good question. I think the phone manufacturers have now had a slightly bigger part to play. There was, can't remember how long ago it was now, maybe 18 months ago, but Apple changed their privacy laws. So what Facebook or Meta used a lot of was your device ID, because the issue that you have with a cookie is every 30 days they are deleted. So you have to kind of renew your targeting in 30-day periods, whereas
your device ID stays on.
Maybe at least a year, up to 4 years, 5 years. So with that kind of fixed data point, you're able to provide a lot more information or infer information about how that person surfs the web effectively and what they might click on, the type of contents they read, which allows you to get really performant ads. Apple stopped that. So device IDs are no longer surfaced to Facebook, and just anecdotally, that has meant that ad performance for Facebook ads has declined. So if they are able to find a way to solve that issue, I think their ad business will continue. But I think they are facing a little bit more turbulence than perhaps they have done in the last decade with their ad business, for sure.
I want to we have some time, so I want before we get to the last part on our schedule, I want to ask you about something that is in on everybody's mind now, and that's artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Is obviously it's impacting every job, everything we do. I'm absolutely stunned by some of the AI generated video clips I
Yeah.
see on the internet. It is scary as hell, whether you want to call it art or not. Whether it's also a question for the patent offices, right, to decide if an AI creates something, who is the patent holder, who is the originator. So a whole new Pandora's box of
Yeah.
questions have been opened. How do you see AI impacting advertising?
I think I guess two ways. The first way will be around kind of predicting behaviors online and then using that to kind of infer targeting. So AI being able to kind of crunch the amount of data that it does will allow it to build and then predict what types of ads a person might like to see, what types of items someone might be willing to purchase. So the targeting of ads is going to become much more
That
efficient with AI.
that is, in a sense, what my absolute hero Isaac Asimov wrote in the Foundation series,
Mm,
right? So when Harry Seldon, the mathematician, predicts the future of the universe, he is drawing on trillions and trillions of data points.
yeah,
If you have enough data, you can predict the future in a sense,
yeah,
right? That's what you're saying. So if you have enough data about a person from all kinds of sources, they could predict that at this or that time I will pass by this or that store.
exactly
And
that. Yeah,
then you're sort of in Minority Report and all these other science fiction movies.
yeah, totally. And I think that ultimately, like advertising works when it's little and often, so like
Mm,
I think, and particularly a lot of the time when advertising's good, it can help you discover products that are useful to you. And I think a lot of the time people get annoyed when advertising is completely irrelevant. So
mhm,
kind of having better targeted ads will just generally improve people's experiences online and allow advertisers to be more efficient, allow
mm,
publishers to make more money, and you in turn will then see fewer ads because the ones that you do see are more performant.
yeah,
So the performance aside, the next thing that I think AI will have a big impact on is actually just the logistics behind running ad campaigns. It is very labor intensive to
yeah,
create a media plan, to kind of have the different line items, the different ad units on different publishers, and putting media plans together. It takes a lot of work. It
mm,
is something that will allow AI can take care of virtually all of that for you. It is pretty repetitive, kind of inputting data into spreadsheets a lot of the time to have a record of what's being spent where by whom.
mm.
So
You,
AI producing that will allow people that work at media agencies, that work at brands, to spend more time on making campaigns more effective rather than kind of like the boring logistical work that has to go alongside that to make sure that it is trackable and that you can reconcile it and you can invoice the right partners for the right amounts of money and so on and so forth. So that is where I think on a human level, people will become more efficient. I think you still will need human beings to be in control of the AI, but you'll just be able to produce more campaigns and then spend more time on innovation, let's say, or developing new ad formats or whatever it may be, kind of the exciting stuff rather than kind of the back office
yeah.
work that has to go on.
The genie is definitely out of the bottle, no matter
It is,
how
yeah.
people want to regulate it. I think the open AI, so Sam went to Washington and said there should be licenses for AI.
Mm,
Everyone's got a different idea now, and some people are afraid. Jordan Peterson came out and said still not working.
mm.
It is basically the large language model, the transformer model that makes it seem so human. Enough of AI. We have one last thing to cover. If I want to run a node on Alkimi, so how does the whole node thing work? Why would I run an Alkimi node?
So we need nodes to support the network. We need a decentralized network of node operators because ad requests can originate from anywhere. I might read the Times, I might read it in London, but I also might read it when I'm on holiday. Like really ad requests can appear anywhere, anytime. So having a
Mhm.
distributed network of validators is essential for us to support that and provide publishers with a revenue across all of the different regions where people access their content, and then advertisers who are looking to target those users. We released the collateral requirements for the nodes earlier this month. So we have basically
the what?
The collateral requirements.
So sorry. Yeah.
We require a number of tokens to collateralize a node, and we have two types. We have something that's called a master node. So that is taking care of a lot of the heavy lifting, rather, kind of managing the ad transactions. That is 200,000 ads tokens. And then we have what's called our guardian or validator nodes. So they are actually then taking those transactions, validating that what happens took place, allows it to fall into consensus, and then writes that transaction to the ledger. The requirement for that is 50,000. And as a node operator, you are then able to be rewarded in ads tokens, which is basically the liquidity and fees that we're taking in terms of dollars from the ad spend that we get is used to then buy back tokens to redistribute to the actual node operators themselves. So it's kind of, I guess it's really leaning into the DeFi world, DeFi side of things, that is kind of actually, rather than just being backed by other DeFi liquidity, this is actually coming from that $774 billion of ad spend I talked about earlier. So it's finally a real world application for a version of decentralized finance that is kind of targeted to the digital ad world.
Wonderful. Anything else we have to add? Anything we didn't touch upon?
I think we've probably
live, right?
Yeah, we've done a lot there. I think with the nodes, we are going to be opening up the list of people to apply to become a node operator towards the end of this quarter. So there will likely be, we want to raffle it to make sure that it's fair, and we're not just prioritizing people that have a large number of ads tokens. We want it to be, as I said, distributed across the globe effectively, and allow anyone to really get involved if they've got the collateral requirements.
Wonderful. Ben Putley from Alkimi Exchange. Thank you so much for joining me at Uphold.
Thank you very much for having me.
Bye-bye.